Okay, so welcome to the deKock July webinar for 2021. Obviously, we've had one every month until last month, Robbie. So last month we skipped one, but we didn't have much happening last month. It was a bit of a slow month, I guess you would say, at that stage of the year for most trainers. If there is a quiet time, that's probably the 1 month where there is a slight lull.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be interesting this month, isn't it? With skipping the last week in July, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. We might ask Alana about that later on.
Yeah, and we obviously have Matt deKock online. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Corey. Looking forward to tonight's webinar.
And obviously our esteemed guest, who's won 5 of our last 10, ridden 5 of our last 10 minutes, apprentice jockey Alana Kelly. Welcome, Alana.
Thank you for having me.
All right, as we can see there, we've got the picture of you with Don't Tell the Boss, and there with Robbie and Matt Silks. But firstly, how did a Ballarat girl end up as a leading apprentice jockey? How did the journey? I guess we'll leave that to you.
So Dad trains, so I grew up in the industry, went through high school. Mum made me finish that, but was riding track work and sort of getting around at Ballarat, helping out a few trainers, and just wanted to persist with that after high school. So here we are.
Yeah, and Ballarat High girl. I think you went to school with some of the boys who play soccer in my soccer teams. So what was the pathway for you to become a jockey? I guess obviously your dad was heavily involved as a trainer, but what was the pathway? I guess how did you go from loving the horses to becoming a jockey?
Yeah, so I did start in racing, but I did the pony club side, went eventing, sort of touched on a bit of everything, then sort of applied to the apprentice program through Racing Victoria and went on from there.
Yeah, and who are the biggest influences? I've heard you say that you like to take bits and pieces from different jockeys and make your own style, but who are the biggest influences, I guess, in your career?
I think it's really hard to pick one because I do look up to a lot of people, and I like to take advice and sort of techniques and all that sort of stuff from a lot of people. But sort of growing up, like obviously Dad was there and he sort of had jockeys in and out of the stable like that would ride for him, so I always knew them. But then sort of getting into the program, you sort of got girls like Nikita and Linda, just sort of showing you the way. Christine Paul's definitely helped a lot, is still helping a lot. So those girls have always sort of paved the way for us at the moment. Now you've got Jamie Carr, and she is a very big inspiration within the rooms.
Yeah, and the girls are dominating at the moment. So I guess we'll touch on the female side. But have you found it a challenge being female, or do you think the industry accepts both male and female riders equally now?
I think it's still heavily male dominated, but I think the girls we're on our way up and we're sort of showing that we can handle our own now. And I think that's sort of coming out in the apprentice groups that are coming through. A lot of them are female dominated. I think the industry is sort of portraying itself as quite, we've had the discussion in the rooms that they portray it as quite a difficult sport, and it is definitely, but we reap a lot of benefits from it, and I think the girls are definitely benefiting coming into that.
Well, deKock is certainly benefiting because not only have you ridden 5 of our last 10 winners, we've actually had 9 of our last 10 winners ridden by female jockeys. So Maxie Allen's holding the end up there for the male jockeys, but yeah, we're doing quite well with female riders. So in terms of fitness, obviously there's a lot of talk about diets and the challenges of making weights and that sort of thing. Do you find that difficult? And what sort of routine do you go through to make sure that you're always making the right weights? And does that put pressure on you outside of racing as well? Or
I think, like, personally, I'm quite naturally light and I'm very gifted in that. So I can, once I've made sort of fitness level that I'm quite happy with, I maintain a sort of very similar weight, and that I'm very lucky that that's quite light at the moment, and I don't have to do too much to ride the minimum. But I think that's why a lot of the girls are flying at the moment, because we're able to sort of get to that peak fitness and maintain it really well without doing too much to sort of compromise our bodies.
Yeah, Robbie always mentions that it was weight that might have cost him the number one jockey title. So he had to go into training. So you've got that advantage over him for sure. Getting the best rides. How challenging? Obviously, as a jockey, a lot comes down to the horses that you get given rides on. How challenging is it as a young jockey to get rides on the top horses?
Oh, very difficult. You're always sort of looking to put in a lot of work to get benefits and reap rewards out of it, but sometimes you miss out and you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, or you've got to figure out who's going to support you the best. And I think it just takes a bit of time, especially early days, to figure out who's going to give you a go while you're still learning. Obviously, you're going to make a few mistakes in the first couple of years that you're riding. So you just need somebody to sort of stick by and keep giving you nice enough horses to learn on.
Yeah, and Robbie Alana's coming down to Cranbourne tomorrow morning and leaving Ballarat at 3 a.m. We were discussing before we came on. That's probably the dedication that you would be looking for as a trainer, and that's why you identified Alana.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that in any profession, you've got to be really dedicated to be the best in what you do, and that there just personifies what we're talking about. So, to get up at that hour of the morning and drive a couple of hours to ride track work in the early hours of the morning to be the best at what you want to do that's what you got to do to be the best. So you got to work hard to get out of it what you put into it. So that's what Alana's doing.
Yeah, and Matt, I guess that sort of travel in South Africa and in other jurisdictions, is that normal, or is that more of an Australian thing, the amount of travel that jockeys and trainers do?
No, it's definitely new to me. Racecourses were very close to us around Johannesburg, whereas Victoria is such a big state, and 7 days a week racing, it can be very taxing on the jockeys, the trainers, and everybody. So it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to be successful in this industry.
Yeah. And Alana, who actually makes up your team? Is it just you at the moment, or do you have, what makes up your team as a jockey or jockey's team?
Well, I work really closely with my manager, who books my rides, runs my life, sort of give him some dates, and if I need them off, or if I've got something happening, and he books the best rides he possibly can for me, and he's doing a really great job with that. Obviously Dad was I like, with my track work and stuff like that, he keeps it flexible. He's only got a small team, which keeps me fresh. I only have to work a couple, and then I can sort of go off and do other things or go to the races, and that benefits me really well. Obviously the rest of my family, they're always behind me and sort of keep me like grounded and stuff like that. So that's good little setup I've got going.
Yeah, and do you look to certain trainers as well? Obviously your dad, but other trainers as well to give you that guidance, or is that a difficult situation for a jockey where you're asking for guidance from those people that need to book you on rides?
I like to let my manager sort of deal with that side of things. Otherwise, we're sort of crossing wires, and we end up with lots of rides in the same race. So I sort of direct them all his way, and he deals with that. That's his job. More than happy to talk to trainers about this and that and anything. But he does that side of it, and I sort of go out and I ride them and I do as I'm told. So I think that's been really benefited me in the last couple of months, especially while we're picking up a few more rides at the moment.
Yeah, and what does a normal week look like for you as a rider, a typical week?
We're track work all mornings through to Monday to Saturday. And then as an apprentice, I'm only allowed to ride 6 days a week. So we sort of either look at the start of the week and sort of figure out, like if there's a meeting at Sale or something like that, it's a very long way for me to get over there. So I'd rather not compromise that meeting and ride somewhere closer to home. So we sort of try and juggle that 6 day rule and work that out. But otherwise, that's sort of track work and races is sort of how we balance it at the moment.
Yep. And just looking at statistics, so Matt and Robbie here, Griffith deKock this is over the last 30 days, so it's cut off on the screen there. But over the last 30 days, our strike rate's 18.2%, which is pretty exceptional in itself. Matt and Robbie, 36.4% top three, and a return on investment of 86.4%. So anyone betting on Griffith deKock in the last 30 days should have had a good windfall. And if they have, then give me a call. I can sell you some more yearlings to take care of that windfall that you've got. And then obviously Alana, 10.5% strike rate, which is pretty impressive. 22.4% top three strike rate. And the return on investment's not fantastic for the punters there. But if they followed you on Griffith deKock courses, so it just says there, which you guys can't see either, it's got the Alana Kelly and GDK combo, 21.7% strike rate, 39% top three strike rate, and a return on investment of 95.7% for the last 30 days. Robbie, you wouldn't get many better combinations than that over the last 30 days.
No, it's fantastic. And look at that return on investment is outstanding. So, no, the punters are very, very, very happy with that. And so they should be. It's been fantastic. And everybody's enjoying that. So especially King Magnus, the price he paid, they were all a lot of happy punters after he went first past the post.
Yeah, and I did well, while I was finding these stats, I obviously found lots of stats on every jockey that's ridden for us. And Alana, you're definitely leading the way in that last 30 days by a significant margin, yourself and Jamie. So I guess, Matt, why does it work? Why does that combination work?
Yeah, it's a good question, Corey. I think it's a combination of Alana working well with us, listening to us, because myself and Robbie know the horses very well, and we know what they like to do in the race. And she's done a good job of following the instructions to a T, and then making decisions in the race as well. That's up to her. She's been doing that very well, making those split-second decisions. And I guess just about being in the right place at the right time. Alana's joined the yard when the yard's on the up, and she's on the up. So it's made a very good connection. So I think that's also partly to do with it.
Yeah, and Robbie, how did you identify Alana originally when you, I guess the first time you got her to ride one of our rides?
I'm pretty fortunate in that space that one, being an ex-jockey, and two, I have a great relationship with Dean Lester, who's an outstanding form analyst, and most of us know him on RSN 927, and most of the media, we hear his voice most days. And being an analyst that watches races every day as his profession, he gets to see all the young talent as they're learning their craft. And he very early identifies a lot of the young talent coming through, and he keeps me up to speed on how they're tactically riding races, not just how they look in the saddle. So the combination of what I see and what he sees has always been very beneficial to put those two together. And he gives me the heads up, and that's been very beneficial to our stable over the years. And we've been very fortunate to tack on to, for want of better expressions, the youth in our racing industry, and take advantage of them as they come up through the ranks. And Alana has certainly fallen in that category very well, and the proof is in the pudding. So so it's been really good. So and now she's getting the opportunities and making the fist of it.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned other young jockeys there. The next part there is that you've always had a good relationship with apprentices and also young riders. Obviously, Jai McNeil started out with yourself, who's just gone on and won the Melbourne Cup. But you have always given young riders an opportunity. What is it that you like about giving young people an opportunity?
I think youth and sport is such a great combination, and they need to be nurtured, developed, and brought through. And no different to Matt and I buying young horses, and you see it in AFL. You bring through young players every year. I think it's what works in sport is bringing through youth and developing them. They're the future of all great sporting associations, you know. So they're young, they're enthusiastic, they're keen to succeed, and they just need an opportunity, you know. So if you give youth that opportunity, they've got their enthusiasm and the hunger to succeed, and all they need is developing and heading in the right direction, and they'll take over from there. You know, we see it in all codes, and we see it with our horses, and we see it with our young riders. And some of those young riders you mentioned that come through that we've given opportunity to. Luke Curry did his last bit of apprenticeship with us. He's now a multiple Group 1 winning rider. Ryan Maloney was another one that, you know, we helped through those early days, and, you know, he's now, you know, top class jockey, the Group 1 winning jockey. Jai McNeil, another one. Now he's a Melbourne Cup winning jockey, you know. So Alana, with a bit of luck, will be doing exactly the same, and she might be a Melbourne Cup winning jockey like Jai as well. So, you know, youth needs an opportunity, and if they're given that opportunity, they can take all before them. So, you know, that's sort of how it works. So hopefully she joins that long list of successful, you know, jockeys like them.
Yeah, and Alana, I watched the final obviously on the weekend. It's a pretty impressive lineup of apprentices at the moment.
Definitely, they've sort of Racing Victoria have been turning us out in excellent form. They sort of send us out very well equipped, so sort of ready to take on a race like that and sort of put ourselves with the best foot forward. So they're turning out good groups.
Yep. And Matt, is in terms of the riding ranks, when you look at the young Australian jockeys or young Victorian jockeys that you've been exposed to here, how would you rate them on a worldwide scale? I guess you have to be careful what you say, but I'm pretty sure that you'll say they're pretty good.
Yeah, they rank very highly, Corey. You know, South Africa's got an awesome history with regards to producing champion jockeys because of our academy system back home. It's a very good system. But coming here to Australia, I was very impressed with the way the apprentices ride, because when they're claiming 3 and just starting out, like Alana just said, they're starting out very well equipped, where even back home, sometimes those apprentices having their first few rides look a bit dodgy or shabby. But here, I haven't really noticed that. You know, they're very professional. They know what they're doing. So they definitely are well educated, and they're up there with the best apprentices around the world for sure.
Yeah, and the last bit there at a girls taking over, Matt, 9 out of the last 10 in our stable have been ridden by female jockeys. Obviously, Jamie Carr's the most high profile at the moment, but there are plenty of top female jockeys in the Australian riding ranks at the moment.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Corey. The girls are definitely taking over. As Alana said earlier, there's a lot of female apprentices coming through, and females are, in general, in the equestrian world, very well connected to horses, and they're always succeeding, whether it be show jumping, dressage. So horsewomen are just as good as horsemen, and it's showing through in the races. And women are coming through like Alana that are extremely confident in their own ability, and they're going out there and showing that they can beat the boys.
Yeah, well, we've got a little bit of a package together here, Alana, of the races. So I'm actually going to quit out of Zoom because last time I tried to play it through here, it stopped. But luckily I've got that. I'll stop sharing that and share here on YouTube. Bear with me, guys. Need to make sure I share the sound, or that won't be much fun. All right, here we go. They don't get you coming from last to first in a couple of them, but they get the final bits.
Voyer's starting to sneak through in between horses with a bit of a run as well. Barney's Blaze goes up, liberalising the centre. Hellvoyer starting to shoot through along the inside. It's Hellvoyer going home the better. Hellvoyer a neck on Barney's Blaze, and in between them, Liberalise sticking on. They put a space in the rest. Bout, Selvage.
Don't Tell the Boss is getting through too. At the 200, Lindout and Don't Tell the Boss come through together. Then Gelgani, Don't Tell the Boss about a neck in front of Lindout, who's still coming. Don't Tell the Boss in front, and Don't Tell the Boss has won it.
As Tourette Warrior burst up on the fence. Tourette Warrior took the front from Troubleshot, but Tourette Warrior has got them from Savalona late on the scene, but Tourette Warrior won it by a length.
200 metres to go. Promotions a length and a half. Influential Jack wearing it down. Promotions, Influential Jack, and Lady Doro now is running home hard. Lady Doro grabs them, and Lady Doro won it. Then King Magnus down the outside, running on from Shot of Irish. King Magnus moves up, takes the lead from Scantoon. Jumbo Asaki back to the inside at the 50. King Magnus, Jumbo Asaki, they're going to hit it. King Magnus beat Jumbo Asaki.
Not bad, even a winner on the legend Tourette Warrior there.
Obviously, the first thing that caught our eye was how well the horse breezed up.
Helvoyers
Breezed extremely well.
Well,
Sebring can be...
sorry, guys.
What have you done there, Corey? Technical.
Yeah. Oh. I've got Matt talking on the screen because it's gone on to the next clip, which is one of our other webinars. So I'll just fix this up, guys. Technical glitch. All right. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
So obviously a win there. Tourette Warrior, Bobby heads off to South Australia and runs this weekend. So that's the final win for him in Victoria, which Alana rode.
Yep.
And
he goes to South Australia one way. He's going to then go and live with Brenton Jones, who we have a relationship with, and we sell a lot of horses to Brenton. And his son Darcy absolutely loves Tourette Warrior. So then when he finishes racing, he'll retire with Brenton to be a pony for Darcy. So so he'll have a great home after racing.
Yeah, and Alana, I'm guessing that Don't Tell the Boss was probably your favourite, coming from last to first, but they were 5 equally impressive rides, and in all of them, it's hard to find anything that you did wrong in all 5 wins. So I guess that's why they're wins, because they're the fun ones. But which did you enjoy the most? And obviously you're enjoying the success that you're having.
Oh, well, you can't knock Don't Tell the Boss. You can't go past a winner at Flemington. They're always very special to have. You've given me a multiple choice question.
That's gone out to everyone, so everyone can choose. So obviously, there's a few comments coming through from some of our more prominent owners saying what a great ride that was as well. So that's always good. They might buy you a few more horses and make sure that Robbie puts you on them. So
no, that'd be very good. But like horses like Lady Diora that sort of can get out and get rolling, and they sort of let down that well, definitely make me look good and feel good. So she can't go past her either.
All right. While we've got that poll going, I've got a few questions from the audience that they've sent through on emails here. So I'll go through them as quickly as I can. But firstly, what age did you consider being a jockey as a career?
17. I was into high school, and they were sort of giving me the where are you going to uni? And I was like, I'm not going to uni. So applied to the apprentice program and sort of went on that way.
Yeah, and how does I'm guessing that there was a time where you didn't have your license, but in general, how do apprentice jockeys get around when they're so young they don't have a license at that stage?
So I was sort of only riding track work. So when we get our licenses at 18, but at 16, obviously was like sort of starting to do trials and stuff like that. So I'd either Dad would go with me or Mum would come with me, and we'd drive there. And then sort of I had my license before I started my apprenticeship, so it was sort of on my way there.
Yeah. How long did it take to ride your first winner?
7 races. I rode it on Dad's horse at Ballarat.
Yeah, that's nice. All right. Do all jockeys now have managers, or do the apprentices' bosses oversee things?
So for the first part of your apprenticeship, you have to ride 20 winners where you either manage yourself or your boss manages you. That sort of it allows you to sort of make connections yourself with trainers before you sort of because you haven't got too many connections or aren't having too many rides within that time. So it allows you to build those relationships first. But most will have a manager by now.
Yep. The next one was about wages and salary. We'll skip that one. So, all right. What are the 3 most important characteristics of a horse that makes you want to ride it in a race?
In a race, I like a horse that's very tractable. I can put it where I want it or can sort of manipulate a situation because my horse will allow me to do that. So I like a horse that's tractable. But a horse with a bit of guts that'll sort of quite happy to get into a dogfight and won't lay down. Do very much enjoy those sort of horses. They've always got a bit of character, but they get the job done.
Yep.
And no, that's it. You're next.
What are the benefits for jockeys that have ridden in a pony club or in equestrian?
I think it sort of teaches you to not manipulate a horse's frame, but be able to make them go along a lot comfier. There's no point pulling against a horse or trying to manipulate the way they do things. If you learn through Pony Club how to ask them to do it, and they usually will. I think that's why Jamie's so well. She started through the Pony Club in the eventing side, and that's why she's got such good hands. Learn to ride off your legs rather than with your hands or with a stick. So I think that sort of does benefit a lot.
Yep. What's the hardest part of an actual race?
The split second decisions, whether you're going to sort of either go in, go out, get off the back of that horse or not get off the back of that horse, I think that's the toughest part. I think everything else you can sort of learn, but I think that's a lot of instinct comes from sort of those split second decisions you have to make.
It's an incredible job that you guys do, by the way. Like I must admit. So while I'm out asking these questions, I say to Robbie every week, I can't believe what you guys do when they're flying at those sorts of speeds. You've got such control. So I think I speak for everyone in saying that's impressive. How do you deal with the pressure from more senior jockeys during a race?
I think you sort of go out there on an even playing field these days. I don't think none of the senior riders are sort of overbearing or pushy. I think they sort of go out there and everyone's quite respectful of each other. Obviously, we're going out there to compete and we are competitors, but I don't really go out there and think, oh, I'm riding against senior riders. It's concerning. We're all sort of out there to do the same job.
Yep. And would you be in favour of shorter race days if it meant you could start track work later?
I think it's something we could always try. I'm not really fussed. I just do as we're told. But I think that is definitely something we could try, especially like with the race free week we've coming out that we're trying that. I think there's no harm in trying something. You can always go back to the way it was.
Yeah, the timing's probably not great now that COVID's here. I think everyone wants to watch the races, but
Exactly.
That's a different problem. So I'll go through now. Michael Dukes wants to know your thoughts on Barclay's Bank and what distance do you think he would run? Which is probably one for Robbie, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah. I don't mind the horse. I thought first up I was I think we put him out of his comfort zone, but I think the second time I rode him, he definitely sort of showed a different personality to different characters, and I think he'll sort of hopefully come on again.
Yeah, and Robbie and Matt.
Yep.
I'll let you answer that.
He's out of a All Americans family, and he steamrolled, so you think, over 1,600 metres. So genetically, he should run a really solid 1,600. The question mark is whether he's mature enough to live up to what his pedigree says. So we're feeling our way a little bit at the moment. So I think what Alana says is quite right, is what he's promising he might not deliver fully yet. He's a bit patchy at the moment. So we tried to put him up make him into something he wasn't comfortable doing. So when we left him alone, he finished on really strong. So let's just take one run at a time. But I think when he matures, he'll probably be a really good 1,600-metre horse, as a long story short.
Yep. All right, another one for Alana from Craig Abernethy online. Does Alana have a preference to type of horses that she likes to ride? So, for example, sprinters or long distance, colts or fillies, any challenges between them?
Not really a preference. I do like a distance race. I like the just the relaxed nature of them sometimes. But to sort of take a little bit more time to plan and sort of manipulate a race, I do prefer that, but you can't beat a sprint race and sort of quick second decisions.
All right, Peter Stanley says, Alana, the stable will have many 2-year-olds to race for the first time post-Christmas. How do you like or dislike riding 2-year-olds?
I think depends on the education they've had. I think if it's a 2-year-old stepping out and it's well prepared, they're always very exciting. But you've always got to have 2-year-olds coming through to sort of build the racing industry.
Yep. Adam West says, what would be the number one reason that you would or wouldn't take a ride on a horse?
Pariahs. I know you sort of try to take care of yourself. You've got to be riding the nice ones. But you sort of got to get on them to sort of learn whether you want to ride them again or not. But you sort of just learning curves always.
Yep. And as an apprentice, Bella Rice says, as an apprentice, are you able to move to a city stable for greater opportunities?
Yep. We can go on loan to another stable sort of anytime we like. It just depends on where you're leaving from, but there's no real restrictions on moving. You just sort of got to have a reason or be looking for those opportunities.
Yeah, and then these are comments more than questions, so I'll click answer live. But Nick Johnston says, what an impressive young lady. Look forward to watching her career blossom. Adam West said, can you make sure you ride the Russian Revolution Lady Melksham colt, which is one of our yearlings. Nick Johnson also says, who will be riding Token Spirit on Saturday? Robbie. So I think that's his hint of put Alana on, but I'm not sure that
that's highly possible.
So
that could be happening, Nick.
So, but then again, obviously, they're difficult.
There is a possibility that Alana's arm wrestled Jamie and won the arm wrestle, I think.
Yeah, well, they're both winning, so that's fine. A winning token's a good token. So we're all at the end of all the questions there. So
one of the questions, Corey, that you might have missed there, Dylan asked what Alana thought of the whip rule.
Oh, yep. I can see that there on the comments. Yep.
I started when the whip rule was already in place, so I sort of learnt to. I'd already adapted to riding like that before. I never learnt how to sort of hit them before the 600. I was sort of not that I'm a big whip rider anyway. I sort of do my best to sort of persuade them along, but without overdoing it. So I'm not fussed about the whip rule. I sort of learnt with it.
You would have learnt that coming through the equestrian world anyway,
yeah. Yeah.
Less is best.
Yeah.
Yep. And Matt, any further questions for Alana?
What time will you be working in the morning?
Before 5.
Good stuff.
Alana does have to, like we said, she lives in Ballarat, and I can attest to that being 2 hours minimum. So we should probably let you go. Alana, thanks for joining us. And from all the questions that I got through, obviously, everyone's enjoyed it. So thank you very much. And we'll continue on the rest with Robbie and Matt and let you go and get some sleep.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Alana.
Cheers, Alana.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the morning.
Thank
you.
Bye.
All right. So pretty impressive young lady, Robbie, but we'll move on to the next part of the webinar. So we're dominating the news at the moment. So 3 days in a row, we've had the front page of the ANZ Bloodstock. And then it was only last week that in the blood, the focus was on Token Spirit. Matt, I'll go to you, but how good's all this free press?
Yeah, it's awesome, Corey. We never expected it heading into Saturday that having a winner at Flemington with a 2-year-old would produce this much press, but it's very good for the stable, and it's just a sign of the way we're heading, and it's just hopefully a sign of better things to come. You know, our relationships with international clients like Jane Chapelheim and Aimer Donnelly and Alliance Bloodstock, it's just all positive and momentum building, and at least we have something very exciting to look forward to in the spring now.
Yeah, and Robbie, I think the other exciting thing is that our main winners at the our big winners at the moment in Token and Gonna Dance a Lot are probably not from sires, which would be seen in the sales ring as commercial, but they're heading that way, and we got both for quite good value.
Yeah, and the other big thing, which is very important for us, for Matt and myself in the stable, is they're classic horses, and Australia is so dominated from 1600 metres down, and we all, you know, get bogged down in speed, and there is so many horses in that category, and there's so much money and excitement in classic races, you know, to get cup runners and Derby runners and Oaks runners, and, you know, every spring carnival, there's so much hype around the big races, and the big races are your classic races. So for us to develop, you know, spring horses heading in these classic distances like Token and Gonna Dance a Lot, and we've intentionally bought, you know, some breeds like So You Think and American Pharaohs and Frankels and these sort of breeds that are going to take us into that direction. And we've, you know, naturally we've got our speed horses as well, but we've been much more diverse in what we're planning for the future. So to see these type of horses make the headlines for us is really, really fantastic, and laying down what the future is for the stable.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, just touching on what Robbie said, obviously we've got 55 to 60 yearlings in this year, which, you know, we've been pretty bullish in the sales, but you've said so many times that it's probably a 3 to 4 year project. So to get a 2-year-old to win at Flemington, that's probably going to be at her best when she's over a lot further distance, as a 3 and 4 year old and beyond is almost like it's a bonus win at this stage.
Yeah, it is a bonus win, but I'm a great believer in that if horses have ability, they'll show you at 2. And we just fortunate and unfortunate that a horse like Gonna Dance a Lot that wants a bit of a trip, there was probably only one race for her, and that was Saturday. And, you know, now she's got to wait 2 months until she can really run again. So the only little hiccup is that there are limited events for young horses when they are horses that are classic horses, but you can see that you can mold them very well, which is what we've done with this filly. We've molded her well and taken our time, and she can see in her form, her progression that she's made. So, you know, she didn't win her last 2 starts, but the progression has been from being beaten by Actor Gali last time to beating it by 3 lengths this time. And she's going to come on even more. So that's the aim with me and Robbie, is just to keep these young horses improving throughout their career and picking up stakes money along the way, you know?
Yeah, and Robbie, obviously a lot of focus on Jane as one of our owners, which I know that it's Matt's relationship, but which has now become a stable relationship. But we've got so many good owners that have come on board this year, with 60% of our ownership being new owners from both locally here and overseas, and new overseas owners completely separate that have come on board.
Yeah, I think that it's a big tick of approval and confidence in the partnership and what we're doing both locally and internationally. And the international, you know, structure will really come into play more so when the horses mature. We'll have the opportunity to travel with them. And I think that it's such a proud moment for Matthew and myself on Saturday, you know, to win for Jane when, you know, she's such a great horsewoman and trainer and so well accredited around the world herself. And, you know, to win in those famous colours at Flemington headquarters, our greatest track here. And I think it, you know, reiterating it stamps, you know, confidence in what we're doing here. And certainly, you know, shows to everyone that there's international confidence in our brand, you know. So I think it's fantastic, and I think it shows what our structure is doing and what direction we're heading.
Yeah, and Matt, what other youngsters are there to keep an eye on in this next sort of three to 4 month period before Christmas?
Yeah, well, obviously Daily Bugle's going to be our main spearhead colt for the spring. He's in the yard now and he's doing very well. And then we have some horses that haven't won yet, but have been showing some promise, like Bring the Stars and Rhodocura. The Long Star, Halvorson's little sister, ran a great race in the city early on in the season. So there's a couple of youngsters that are still going to come through the ranks, like those that haven't won yet. That could be anything. And then you got, like I said, you got Daily Bugle, which we're setting out a nice program for, and hopefully he can make that next step up to being a big horse in the season.
Yeah, and Robbie, any yearlings that will be early contenders, or is it too early to tell at this stage?
It's probably a bit early. I think a lot of the young horses tend to, find their own way. It very much depends on their growth patterns, which Matt and I are working through now. Some of them on pedigree, we'd like to think that they'll be there. Seed and Excel filly, Redoutes filly. Some of these sharp, some of the Russians look pretty sharp. He was a fast horse. So it just very much depends on how they grow out. Naturally the So You Think and those sort of pedigrees that we're talking about, they might take their time because they're bred that way. The Flying Artie, he won the Blue Diamond last year, so he could be a colt that gets up and runs early. The Pariah is quite a sharp horse. He actually galloped really well the other morning. Saturday morning, he was very sharp. He galloped up pretty quickly, So he's a colt that he's out of a speed family that, half-sister Wager that ran second in the Blue Diamond. So he's one that could be up and running quite early. So as we're starting to gallop them from now on, they're going to tell Matt and I when they're going to run, but you'd be looking at those sort of pedigrees that get up and go, and they will guide us along the way. No different to any other horse in the stable guides us, like Gonna Dance a lot. She always told us when she was going to be ready, and we just followed her along the way. So the early speed will get there early, and the classic horses will tell us when they're ready too,
Dylan Shirley just said a question: how on earth are there still shares left in my Flying Artie?
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue. It's amazing. His first season, he comes out and gets a Blue Diamond winner, and there's still shares available in that sire. I can't work it out. It's a crazy thing.
One of the questions here, actually, from Glenn O'Sullivan says, how many yearlings purchased this year have you nominated for the Golden Slipper? And I've actually got that right in front of me here. 16 is the answer, Glenn. So we've got 16 nominated for the Golden Slipper. Obviously, it's a long way away still, but I'll go through some of them. So we've got our Shalar Rationality, Redoutes Choice out of Bubbleberry, the Redoutes Choice out of Do Again, Zoostar, Cinderella's Secret, Russian Revolution, Magnagem, Maurice, Milan Delago, Written Tycoon, Royal Myth, Saboog out of Soga, Pariah out of Whirlpool, which still has 5% left in her, Exceed and Excel out of Status Quo, Russian Revolution out of Highland Daughter, who we think is probably going to be one of our earliest runners and still has a little bit left in him. Flying Artie. So once again, we mention him in every chat we have about our young flying yearlings, and he's still got a little bit left in him. He's nominated. The Lonrose out of Solar Rock, which is a filly that we picked up who's an absolute beauty. She's nominated. The Rubik out of Electron, there's still a tiny bit, 10% left in him. The Headwater out of Little Indian, and the Pariah colt out of Wee Betcha, which you mentioned before as being really speedy, and we've definitely got some left in him, and he looks like he's just a beautiful looking horse. So 16 horses, Robbie. It looks like we're making up the whole field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I think that they're the type of pedigrees that are going to find their way there on genetics. So now it's just up to how they grow out. But that race is sort of 10 months away, or the best part of it. So anything can happen the way they grow between now and then. So the nominations close very early, but of our horses that we've bought, they're the 30% of them that are more likely to run in it, because they've got the genetics, they've got the growth, and the way that Pariah galloped on Saturday, they're the sort of horses that are going to find their way to the big 2-year-old races. You know, they got the speed and the genetics.
And Glenn just mentioned, how is Hal Vorson's little brother going?
Yeah, he's
Sorry,
going.
Craig
Really,
McGill.
yeah, he's going really well. He's just doing a bit of pre-work at the moment. Magnus's don't come on that early. His 2 Group 1 winners have been older horses. Hal Vorson himself is an older horse, so Magnus's aren't horses that come on early, but he's very much like his brother. Hopefully he runs as good as his brother, because his brother's a bloody good horse, you know. But he looks just like him, and he's growing out really well.
Yeah, and I guess, Matt, this season, so from the moment you guys took on the partnership, you've had 15 city winners, which is pretty impressive from any training partnership in the country. But to be in your first sort of season together, it's been pretty successful. What are the targets for next season? Do you have any number of Group 1s you're aiming for, or is it just at this stage planning all those young horses' careers and seeing where that lands you?
Yeah, well, we haven't really sat down just yet and picked out our targets, but obviously a Group 1, any Group 1 will take that. So we got a couple of young horses that we'll be targeting Group 1s with now, like Gonna Dance a Lot and maybe Daily Bugle. So we hope to pick up one of those, but I guess it's just to better this season. You know, we started this season very well and it's continued on, but we'd like to just better that again next year and hopefully have a lot more 2-year-old winners with our big crop, and we'll be very happy with that result, I'd say.
Yep. And I'm just going to launch another poll there for our viewers. So it's just got a few options there, and that takes us to the next page. Robbie, we dipped the toe into the commercial weanling market for the first time. So obviously you breed some horses yourself. You've also bought weanlings previously that have grown out to race, but it's the first time that we've bought at the sales a commercial weanling with the idea of racing it for our clients.
Yep. No, we're probably going to start doing more of that, looking at the prices of the yearlings. Hence the reason we bought the Capitalist at the sales, because it's only going to be months, 5 months away, and the Capitalists are going to be, $200,000-$300,000, and it's going to be very difficult to buy. And price point is a topic, without a doubt. A lot of our owners over the years have got used to buying it, shares of gross value horses at $100,000 and under. So with the prices of horses going up, a lot of the horses that Matt and I like have been making sort of $250 and above. So to get that type of quality into the stable, that's what you've got to pay. So buying the Capitalist at $85,000 as a weanling was really good, really smart decision to do that. So if we can go through and buy some of these horses that you put up on the pedigrees you put up there, it's a good idea to do that. And the same will happen each and every year, like as these young stallions come through, some of these fast horses that come through the ranks, that go to the breeding barn each year, some of the international stallions, some of the local stallions, it's a wise thing to do. And that's why we're breeding as well. That's the main catalyst for starting breeding, when we started breeding our own, is because some of the weanlings at that point in time weren't of the same quality as they are now. So our stable started to breed, and that's how we end up breeding Hal Vorson and Don't Tell the Boss and horses of that quality, because the weanling market wasn't of the quality that you could buy now. Yep. So we and the yearlings were still too dear. So we started breeding, and some of our mares now have gone to all of these stallions you got up here, and also Omaha Beach and horses like that, those top quality American stallions, very fast horses, to give our ownership groups the best you can possibly get.
Yeah, and I put up some sires there, which I know we will be doing farm visits over the next couple of months. So, the idea of getting some sort of feedback from our clientele online is that if we go out to the paddock and we find, for example, a frosted that we love, we can have the confidence to buy that frosted while it's still, it will be a yearling by August, but we can buy those things early and get the best value for our clients.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Well, Matt and I, went around the paddocks last year, and we're not afraid to do that. And that's how we end up with the Flying Artie, at a lot better value than what he would have made in the sales. So you can do that definitely. And Matt and I will do the hard yards, going around the farms and having a look, see what we can find. And if we can do that, we'll absolutely do exactly what we did, the same way as we bought the Capitalists. It's easier at the sales because they all come to you. You don't have to do as many kilometres on the road, but we'll certainly be doing that for sure.
Yeah, and Michael Dukes is just saying, what do you think of Barclays Bank's chances on Wednesday if he gets into the field? Obviously, he has to get into the field, but should be a pretty good chance. Obviously, that's why
it's a really big unknown, to be fair, because the track looks like it's going to be very wet, and all of his runs have been on synthetic. So we actually have zero idea of how effective he'll be on the wet, because every time he's been on soft tracks, they've only been no worse than a 6, and every time the track's been very heavy, come trial days, the trials have been either cancelled or transferred to the synthetic. So we don't know if he's physically strong enough to handle the wet or even likes it. So it might be one of those try and have a look situations where we don't even know if he'll like it. So he might sink in the mud and we go, that was a waste of time, or he might love the mud and he might run well. So it's a little bit of an unknown, unfortunately. So we might just have to suck it and see, as they say.
Yeah, and I had another couple of ideas. Obviously, we spoke earlier about the fact that we have done quite well with those sires where we've maybe gone and bought the best of that sire at the sales. So, for example, Jane bought the Soprancelot. We've got Token Spirit, which would have to be one of the best Wangeners. We've got you've got pretty much all the best Magnuses have come through the stable. We've got quite a reputation of finding value in those sires that are maybe not the commercial ones at the sales. And I thought about a few options there. So in the votes there is one which just says, if picking on type, would you like to be, buying one horse, or would you like the idea of a syndicate where you buy a few horses? And potentially, if people are interested in those lower priced horses, if you get in touch with me on email, then I can make a list and we can sort of put together a little group of people that can go there as a group and buy at next year's sales. So I just wanted to mention that. So if you are watching and sometimes you can't afford to do 5% and 10% and 20% in horses, but you'd like to be involved and you're never able to, but maybe I could put together 5 or 6 people or 10 people or 20 people who are in the same situation, then you can email me and we can obviously try and target those types of horses that are purely on type. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'll ask a few questions here. This might be a silly question, Robbie, but wondering if it's anything to do with performance when clipping a horse's coat. Is it just for looks or is it performance-based?
No, it's just purely so that they dry faster in winter, because as you can appreciate, when they're training in the morning or racing during the day, when the saddle's on them and they're training, they get hot and sweaty. And when you wash them, they take too long to dry. And then you have too many skin-related issues and all sorts of problems of taking too long to dry. So by clipping the hair off them, literally they dry in seconds to minutes, and it's far better for the horse. They don't get as many colds and they don't get as many skin-related rashes through taking too long to dry. So it's a management issue. That's the reason why you clip the hair off.
And I've got a few more questions here. So has Ringside Rossa arrived back in the stable as yet? That's from Bella Rice.
Yeah, she's doing some pre-work, doing some water walking and all that sort of activity. So all light exercise. She won't come back to the main stable for some time yet.
Yep. And Bella also asks, are we looking at a stand as a sire? Certainly, we're looking at every single sire you could imagine. And we have statistics that are, if I turn my laptop to the side here, you'll see piles and piles of paperwork there, which are statistics. So basically, we're always looking through every sale, looking through who buys what, looking through what sires are performing. And then I try and gather all of that up and put to Robbie and Matt. So when they go to the sales, they're looking at the horse, but also they've got all that statistical data backing it up from a sales perspective. And then obviously you have the bloodstock team of Peter Ford and Joey and those guys. And Peter knows all the pedigree side of it. So between all of us, we certainly look at every sire at every horse at every sale. So I've answered that for you, Robbie and Matt, but I thought that was an easy one. Here's one for Matt. What are your thoughts on, this is from an anonymous attendee, so I reckon this must be Coolmore probably. What are your thoughts on the US dirt tracks perform sires?
Yeah, it's a very good question. But what you've seen in recent times is horses like American Pharaoh and Frosted, their progeny come over here and be very successful. I believe that even if they're successful on the dirt, it's a good sign of their athletic ability. And if they're able to, the world's such an integrated market these days that some of those dirt horses have grass pedigrees through their mare line or through their sire line. And if their athletic ability is up to that Group 1 potential, they're able to pass that through to their generation, to their progeny. And it's showing around the world that you can mix and match dirt sires with grass mares and have, success on the racetracks.
And here's one for Robbie. Has the stable increased the number of horses in work since the partnership began?
No, it's gradually catching up, because when I had health issues, it decreased and dropped back a lot. So the partnership has allowed us to buy, it's rejuvenated us, and we bought young horses. So over a period of time, we'll catch up to where we used to be. So that's why we're having more spurts of success, because as Matt said earlier, we haven't sort of really got a lot of older horses yet. But our younger horses will gradually, if we buy like we've done this year for 3 years in a row, we'll have constant successful years, and that's what we need to do. So long story short, our numbers are catching up to where we used to be.
Yep, and just on the screen now, the yearling of the month I thought I'd mention. So I've put up here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yearlings where there's only 10% maximum remaining. So if the Rubik out of Electron colt, which we bought at the gold sale, Robbie, if you want to just touch on him, because obviously side yes, the Everest winner, as you can see in shot, but he was a lovely yearling and he was a great price, and I figure 10% left, so first in, best dressed, I think.
Yeah, well, I have a lot to do with him, because I raced the mum in partnership with 2 partners. And when she retired, she only had 2 starts. She was very fast, but had an injury, and he had the 2 starts and won her second run, a first run, I should say, and then had an injury and went to stud. So I actually bought her to breed from, and that mating was intentionally done. So I retained her as a brood mare, and Peter Ford helped me do the mating. It's an incredibly good mating. She's from the family of Animo, the outstanding 2-year-old of the year. So he was prepared in partnership. I had a partner in the breeding package, and we went back to the sales and we bought him back, and he's an absolutely beautiful colt, and he's got a really good looking head on him, big nostril, big jowl, and he's got all the right nicks and crosses in the right place, and he's just a very, very nice horse. He actually looks like he'll run it too, very much like there's a lot of 2-year-olds in that family, like Animo, and he's a beautiful horse. That's all there is about it.
Yep. And Matt, we've got 4 others there. So the Pariah out of Whirlpool, which was our lower price Pariah filly, and she's a beauty as well. Some really nice owners too, so I think they'd have a good time with her. 95% sold, and we've got 5% there in her. How's she going?
Yeah, she's going good. She's at the breakers, having her second time in now, second prep, what you guys call it here. But myself and Robbie actually saw her first on the farm. The farm's name slips on mine. Robbie can probably jump in and shout out the farm's name there. But we first saw her on the on the farm and loved her and followed up the sales and made sure that we came home with her.
Yeah,
I think it was Tagula.
Yeah, Tarcoola stud. Yeah,
Tarcoola,
where we bought Daily Bugle. Yeah, they're good
Yeah.
breeders down there. Boutique farm, very good breeders.
Yeah.
And we've got the Russian Revolution Lady Melksham colt, and we also today has just popped up. So this is hot off the press. Is we had one owner, or not actually an owner, but we had one fellow drop out of 2.5 in the Redouts and the Seamus Award, aka didn't pay his bill. So there's 2.5% left in both of those for whoever's quickest to email or text me. So they won't last very long at all. We probably don't even need to touch on those, do we, Robbie?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they speak for themselves. I mean, last Reduced Choice colt. I mean, I'm surprised that I suppose nobody knows about it, but that'll be gone before this this finishes, Corey.
Yep, I would have thought so. I reckon you would take that if you didn't have to tell Sharani you were taking an extra 2.5%.
100%.
So, all right.
I won't be greedy.
All right. That's it for this week, this month's episode, guys. Thanks again, Robbie and Matt. Anything else you guys wanted to mention to everyone before we left?
No, as long as all questions have been answered. No, I just want to say thanks for everyone for joining. I think these are great, especially in lockdown. If we can keep everyone entertained, I think it's great that Alana come on. She's a fantastic young talent and doing a great service for the stable. And as long as the webinars are keeping everyone entertained, I think it's fantastic. Thank you, Corey. I think it's a great thing. No problem. I'm just getting texts already about the Redoute, so he'll be gone in no time. Congratulations again for a really good last month, and obviously exciting time for the stable, as we say every month. And talk soon. Thanks for following, everyone. Thanks, Robbie and Matt.
Good on you, Corey. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Corey. Cheers, everyone.